Hello, everyone. Thank you for listening to another episode of DanDanTony Sports. My name is Dan Snyder. As always, I am joined by Dan O'Shea and Tony Casper. Tonight, we have special guests including Dan Beebe and the triumphant return of Chuckles.
What's going on?
How's everyone doing tonight?
Doing good.
It's good to hear.
It's feeling good.
Ooh, feeling
Wonderful.
real good.
Yeah.
All right, we got a fun show tonight. What we're going to do is we're going to talk NBA. Got a few different topics, and then we're going to give the players that we feel are most underrated at each position. But first, before we get into all that, as always, we have our pigskin poetry. The press section at Jets camp is a dangerous row. You'll probably get hit by a Hackenberg throw. If you're a receiver, you have no need to fret. He hasn't learned to throw to you yet. Can he hand it off to Bilal Powell? Or should the Jets just throw in the towel? Or maybe give Bryce Petty a shot? What other option have you guys got? You've got McCown, a veteran guy, but hearing that sentence should make Jets fans cry. Remember when they had Sanchez, he ran into butts? He dropped the football. Man, what a klutz. Eating hot dogs during the game. Now most people laugh when they hear his name. The Jets have it bad, we can all agree. But when will they trade for RG3?
Good foul.
Hopefully never.
It's funny because the Jets are bad.
I was waiting for you, Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Fitzpatrick.
It's tragic.
It's
There's a good one.
yeah. Fitzmagic.
You can relate because he was on the Bills.
Yep. You give him money and then he just doesn't play.
He's Fitzmagic, you pay him, and then he's Fitztragic.
Yeah.
Kyle Orton did the same thing.
He's from Harvard. He's smart. He knows if he got the money, he doesn't want to hurt himself.
Oh, yeah. Who hasn't heard that before? That he's
Yeah.
from Harvard.
Yeah.
That's not like
No, but that's
the
the
one
thing.
thing every announcer every game says.
But he's like, now that I
oh, he
got
went to
paid,
Harvard. Oh,
I don't know if any other football player would come up with the conclusion that, hey, I just got paid. I don't have to play anymore.
You know what
I mean,
I find funny? He went to
that
And
Harvard
Ndamukong
elitism. Yeah.
Ndamukong Suh did that.
That's true.
Not to mention, if you're a Jets fan with a Super Bowl ring, you're a senior citizen.
Yeah.
From what I understand, if you go to and play professionally after you've left Harvard, you suck. Because look at Jeremy Lin.
We're not even going to rehash that debate yet. We got Dan over here laughing with his syncopated laugh.
Okay.
You know how you feel about Jeremy Lin.
You
I
guys are just silly. You guys just have blinders on when it comes to him for some reason.
I read this thing that I thought was funny. It was about a college basketball game between Harvard and MIT. Now, midway through the game, the shot clock stopped working. So the MIT players just got up on ladders, went up to start fixing it. And the Harvard guy's like, I don't think so. This is a union job. So they pulled out the books and started looking on the court. I'm pretty sure that's not true. But
I hope it is.
Me too. All right, so we're going to get into a lot of stuff, really. First thing we're going to talk about breaking news, if you can call it breaking, because you're going to be hearing this like 4 days after it happened. It was reported by CBS that Phil Jackson was taking calls for a trade for Kristaps Porzingis. Now, I just want to hear one-word answer. Do you think this is a good idea or a bad idea?
One word?
Just
One word.
That's all we get.
That's all you get. Good or bad?
How about
Nuanced.
indifferent?
Indifferent, nuanced. Yeah.
Bad.
Bad. Yeah.
Good.
Good. Good. Who in their right mind thinks trading Kristaps Porzingis from the Knicks is a good idea?
I think for him it's a good idea. I think anyone should get away from the Knicks right now.
That's a very good point. But his brother, who is like his agent's like secretary or whatever, is saying that he wants to be a Knick. He wants to be in New York. So
I'm sure he wants to be in New York, but who can you think of anybody who would want to be in that situation?
Carmelo?
Carmelo's doing it to just be Carmelo. He's going to ride this out because he knows there's not a damn thing they can do about it. But I can't see any player wanting to either come to the Knicks or really be on that Knicks roster right now, the way that the front office is running things.
Well, I mean, Derrick Rose also said he wants to come back to the Knicks.
That could have
because
also
nobody
been.
else wants him.
Yeah, that could have been an agent's ploy to, try and up his selling price by saying, he's going to take a discount to stay with the Knicks, so maybe other teams are like, all right, well, here's this offer instead of what we were offering.
Derrick Rose is still a shell of himself, though.
I kind of feel like he meant it because he had a pretty sweet thing going with the Knicks. He was probably when he was on the court the best player on the biggest team in the NBA. So
I mean, that's a bold statement considering Golden State right now and their popularity. Yes, I mean the Knicks will always hold the prestige that it is the Knicks, but I mean, how many years of bad play before the fans finally say that enough is enough?
Well, I mean, it's been 20 and counting. So
yeah.
There have been small pinpricks of light in the darkness, but they've been few and far between.
They faded quickly.
I think it's exactly what it sounds like. He was taking calls. He was answering the phone, listening to offers, and probably saying, "You're out of your mind," or give me that and your next two first round picks, and I'll think about it. I really think this is just a way for Woj to kind of poke at Phil Jackson because the Knicks don't let him into scoops. They don't leak to him. If anyone, they usually leak to Ian Begley. And, Woj wants to be the first guy on everything. So he's kind of, throwing his weight around. And so he's going to say, all this so that the Knicks are looking to trade Porzingis because it'll get the fan base riled up. It'll generate a lot of press, mostly negative, for Phil Jackson. And, I'm a Knicks fan. I'm certainly not happy with Phil Jackson, but I also don't think he's insane enough to just trade away Porzingis without, asking for the world from whoever he's trading with.
Right. I think with the promise that Kristaps Porzingis has and his skill set and his abilities, he's obviously not an all-star yet, but he will be. Even Dirk Nowitzki, who I think we can all agree is great. One of the best basketball players we've ever seen play, correct?
I agree.
Yeah. He's got the
definitely
skill, yeah.
the best international player we've ever seen.
Maybe. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But Dirk Nowitzki says that what Kristaps Porzingis is going to be, Dirk pales in comparison. So if he's correct, then you've got to, as Dan said, ask for the world to get rid of this guy.
He does have a high ceiling. I mean, there's a good possibility for some high productivity.
So Dan O'Shea, since you're the one that brought up trading the world, what is the world to you?
Well, it would depend. If it's picks or players or a combination of both. Obviously, I'm going to be looking at this with some bias. I love Porzingis. I'm a big Knicks fan, so I am sure to overvalue him. I do think he could very well be a fringe all-star, if not this year, then next year. So I would be asking if I was even contemplating trading him, which is hard for me to even imagine, for at least a couple of unprotected, high potential picks. Something. If teams have rights to other teams' picks, like Boston has the Nets pick or something like that, where it's a bad team that's going to be a high pick, I would want at least two. I would want two high picks for him because his value is higher than I would say even the number one overall pick on its own right now because he is a proven commodity in the NBA, whereas everyone else is just potential.
I think he's more expensive than two picks in a high position like that. I think that you do have to, if even with those draft picks or at least one of those draft picks, also draft somebody that has proven himself and is maybe not compatible, but compatible with those traits too.
Well, let me ask you this question. Do you think if these are serious talks that his stock has been hurt by the fact that he is
kind of shutting out the Knicks?
No, that he's declined from his first year to his second. Because that's never a good trend.
Right, but do you blame that on him or do you blame that on the system?
Who?
I also don't really think
For
he,
Porzingis.
his stats wise, has declined. He's improved in some areas. Some areas went down a little bit, and he's still, I think, getting used to the length of the season. The beginning of the season, he was doing much better. As the games wore on him, he started to struggle a little bit more.
Well, in addition to that, I think it's not just on him. One of the quote-unquote leaders of the team,
apart.
Derrick Rose, the first 25 games was all about, let's win. And you can see they were winning.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Derrick Rose is like, wait a second, I'm playing for a couple $100 million. I'm going to get mine.
Yeah.
He totally screwed Courtney Lee, totally screwed Kristaps Porzingis, and he totally screwed Kyle O'Quinn.
Yeah, but Porzingis was also dealing with some injuries this year, too, that he didn't deal with in the first season, right?
Yeah, I mean...
mostly small stuff, but enough
kept him
that
out a
adds
decent
up.
amount,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, small stuff now, but, potentially big stuff. Knee problems on a big guy. That's always scary. Knee problems on a big guy.
Yeah, nothing too concerning though. Because he's back to full health and he was healthy going out of the season. I think he's still got a ton of value, and teams would have to give up a lot of assets or a lot of picks or both to.
I mean, this may also be just opening the door. This may be a story about how they threw out, maybe thinking about dishing Porzingis, but at the end of the day, it makes the phone ring in the Knicks office. And then
the old bait and switch.
Yeah, even if it's the conversation isn't necessarily Porzingis isn't going anywhere, that could at least open the door. And then now there's a conversation. Well, we've got other players. What can we do?
How
here?
about Melo? Bait them in with Porzingis and then switch Melo in there.
I have a couple of questions about that. First is going to be one scenario, then another. Dan, I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Okay.
First scenario, the Boston Celtics call up, say, we really want Kristaps Porzingis. We're willing to give you Avery Bradley, Kelly Olynyk, and swap first-round picks. Do you do it?
I mean, it's interesting. I think Porzingis is better than those two individually, and I don't think the Knicks are in a position where those two are guaranteed to stick around for as long as you'd like, or to become star caliber players. And switching the first could be interesting, but again, it's really just potential that you're looking at. I would say no.
Okay.
If I didn't have to go with the pick, then yes.
What about this option? Carmelo says, you know what, I'm good with Boston. I will waive my no-trade clause for Boston. Boston says, okay, now we're going to add in some more. You give us Carmelo and Porzingis, we'll give you Marcus Smart, Kelly Olynyk, Avery Bradley, and 2 first-round picks. You want Carmelo gone, that's going to be... that Phil Jackson, I think, would say deal.
I think the fan base would revolt.
But when has Phil Jackson cared about the Knicks fans?
Obviously never.
When has Phil Jackson cared about the Knicks is maybe a better question.
I think Phil does it. I wouldn't do it. I think Phil does.
I don't think I would do it.
I mean, you're getting a lot at that point, and you got to think that you're probably going to shuffle off more at that point. And
yeah, at that point, you're just trading for
a
million picks, but you don't have anything or anyone to build around. Whereas Porzingis is
at least it's a building
block.
I give you that, and the fact that he's so young. They spent a early first round pick to get him in the first place. So
he's
you
22.
abandoning him.
He's younger than he's younger than a lot of players that are going to get drafted.
Abandoning a player that quickly that you drafted so high, that's usually unheard of in the NBA.
And the Knicks, well, if anyone's going to do it, it's the Knicks because of their history with, letting players go for pennies and then them becoming worth gold.
Well,
Larry Bird.
Well,
Bird.
At least we didn't actually draft him and give him up. We just skipped over him because we're idiots.
Well, I think there's something to be said, too.
If they trade away Porzingis and don't get a bunch of lotto tickets back, I think I'm done as a Knicks fan. I think I'll just follow Porzingis or something. Just become a fan of his for whatever team he's with.
Going back to why Phil might take it, and I think it's going to what kind of chemistry the Knicks have right now.